What we're going to show you here is how to remove a Bison deep well hand pump. So we're going to go through it step by step. You would remove this pump if, for whatever reason, you had to repair the Bison hand pump, or if you had to replace your existing electric submersible pump, the hand pump has to come out first. Then you can remove the electric pump. So all you have to do is just take a pair of pliers, something similar to these, place it over the little rubber bumper and just wiggle it off, and it will slide right off. They're a little tight, but they will come off. Hang on to these because you'll want to put them back on when you reassemble the hand pump. If for any reason that you cut them, tear them, break them, just call Bison Pumps and they will send you another package. We have two styles of nuts. You may have the style that is a hex head set screw, or you may have our different style hex set screw that actually takes an Allen wrench. But the bumpers are the same. They still slide right over the bolt. After you've removed the black bumpers off these set screws, you'll need a 3/8 open end wrench and just loosen the set screws up. You don't have to take them all the way out. We don't want to lose them. That can happen. So just loosen them enough so that you can turn them by hand. Then they're all off. If you bought a Bison pump that has the Vandalproof kit, the next step will be to loosen those Vandalproof truss head bolts with a special tool that you got with your kit when you bought the pump. We recommend that you do not use a battery operated drill to run this little tool, because if you torque it too quickly, it'll snap the little ends right off the tool. We're going to just insert the tool in the little holes of the truss head screw and turn counterclockwise to loosen. After we get this all the way out, unscrew it. Again, you don't have to take it all the way out, just loosen it up. And then there'll be one more on the opposite side. Do the same thing. Loosen it up and back it off. Okay, the next step is to loosen up these 9/16 nuts on top of your well adapter. This is the actual well seal that seals your well casing. If you remember when you installed it, you tightened them up. Now to take it off, we're going to loosen them up. Using the same pattern, you're going to go a little bit on this one, go diagonally to the opposite, loosen that up, step over to this one, and just keep going in that pattern, going diagonally directly across from the one you just loosened. That way they all get loosened at the same amount. Once they are loosened finger tight, then you can just loosen them up. No need to take them off. Just keep backing them off. And they're loose. You're all set. The next step to remove the Bison deep well pump requires the help of an additional person. So I'm going to have my son John help me today. This is John, and he is going to lift up on the pump while I slide the paddle, the installation paddle that you got with your kit. I'll slide the paddle underneath, let it sit on top of the casing. John will lower the pump back down, and it will rest there hands-free. John will lift the pump up. I'll take the paddle, slide the paddle over the pipe and the rope, and then John will set the pump back down on the bell of the pipe. That way the paddle's holding the weight, our ropes are free to be able to untie the safety rope. The next step in removing the well head is we have to free the handle from the lift rod. Insert the 3/16 Allen head or Allen wrench in the head of the bolt. Connect the 1/2-inch box end wrench on the nut and turn the Allen wrench counterclockwise to loosen up the nut. Remove the bolt. Now John will lower the handle down so we can get that out of our way. We'll set this right back down. For safety purposes, let's put the bolt back in the head of the handle and just put the nut on hand tight, then you won't lose the bolt. The next step is to remove the pump head from the piping below. You'll notice that on this installation we also have a safety rope for the electric pump. We're not going to remove the electric pump, but we are going to unhook our safety rope and just tie it off so we don't lose it down inside the casing, because we'll reconnect it when we put the hand pump back in. If you remember, there's a eye bolt on the underside of this plate that we've tied our safety rope to. We're simply going to now untie that. And we'll tie this, both safety ropes, we'll tie them around the casing just so we don't lose them. Okay, now we're going to unscrew the pump head from the piping below. John's going to hang onto the pipe securely with the pliers. I'm going to turn the pump counterclockwise again to unscrew this 1 1/4" thread from the female thread of the pipe. You'll be able to tell when it's loose because you'll be able to lift up on it. Next step, John will hang on to the pipe so that I don't lift the pipe up, and I'm going to raise the pump head straight up, rod and all. Clamp the vice grips around the stainless steel rod securely. Let the vice grips sit on top of the pipe. Now we can unscrew the coupling. The next step is to loosen the coupling nut at the base of the pump. So now John will loosen up the nut below. This is just the exact opposite of what you did when you installed your hand pump. I'll turn this to unscrew it. As soon as it's free, then I'll be disconnected. There we go. The next step, after having removed the pump head, now we're going to take the rod retrieval tool that again came with your kit. We're going to screw the rod retrieval tool onto the male thread of our lift rod here. And then we're going to release the vice grip and slowly let the rod drop until it stops. The next step is to hang on to the rod. Your helper will remove the vice grips, disconnect them, and then you'll let the rod slowly go to the bottom until it stops. Then we can remove the rod retrieval tool. The next step is to raise the pipe up, slide the paddle out. We'll continue to pull the pipe up till we get to the next hub. Then we'll slide the paddle back in and set the weight of the pipe onto the paddle. Again, this is a two-person job. So John will lift up. I'm going to remove the paddle, hang on to it. I'm going to give him a little bit of help here. Keeping a hold of the paddle, I'm going to slide the paddle back in again, keeping the ropes free. Always keep the ropes in the slot of the paddle so they're out of your way. Now we're ready to unscrew this piece of pipe. Again, these were put on by hand as tight as I could put them so I can unscrew them by hand. If you can't unscrew it by hand, if you can't get it started, you just take another pair of pliers, hook onto the pipe, turn counterclockwise. So now we're unscrewing the pipe. We've got it just about free. John's got a hold of it with the pliers. Now at this point, this is the first piece of pipe that we're taking out. And if you drilled the 1/8 inch bleed hole in the side of your pipe, then we're going to have water in this pipe from this bleed hole down. Now the next piece of pipe you take out, the next 8-foot piece, this whole entire length of pipe is going to be full of water. So this is where you want to go slowly, and you may get wet. So we're going to do this slowly until I get it unscrewed, and you'll see the water come out here. There, not much on that one. The next one will have a whole 8-foot piece of pipe full of water, so it's going to spray out a little bit. We're going to lift the rod up so we can expose the coupling. And then John's going to clamp it again. Let the vice grip sit on top of the coupling. And now we're going to unscrew the coupling. We want to make sure that the nut we loosen is the bottom nut, not the top one. Loosen up this bottom nut, and then we can unscrew the coupling. And John will give me a hand with that. Usually we'll unscrew by hand with your fingers. He'll help me a little bit. And then we're free. Now we're going to remove the next 8-foot length of pipe and rod. So we'll go back, we'll screw the rod retrieval tool onto the thread that's protruding from the pipe. Put it hand tight, that's all you need. And I'm going to hang on to the rod retrieval tool. John's going to disconnect the vice grips. And then I'm going to let the rod lower back down until it stops. Now I can unscrew my rod retrieval tool. We'll set this off to the side handy because we're going to need it again. Okay, same process. John's going to lift up on the pipe. I'm going to help him hold onto the paddle. I'll slide the paddle back underneath the hub. And all our ropes are free. And then we're ready to unscrew the next piece of pipe and rod. I'll take a pair of pliers just to get it started. Now I should be able to turn it by hand. And we got to remember that this 8-foot piece of pipe is full of water. Let the pipe drain out. There we are. Now we can lift the rod back up. John will hang on to the pipe. We'll lift the rod back up. When you lift this, you're moving water at the same time, so there's going to be a little bit of weight there. I've got a hold of the rod. John's going to clamp it with the vice grips. Now I can let go. Now we'll unscrew the jam nut again. Again, it's the bottom jam nut that we're going to loosen up. 1 wrench on the coupling. Now we can unscrew it pretty much by hand. Okay, now we're getting ready to remove the last length of pipe and rod, and your 3-inch cylinder will be connected to the bottom of that. So John's going to lift it up. I'm going to remove the paddle. We're done with that now. Now he's got to find that spot where the 3-inch cylinder will get by the pitless adapter that the electric pump is hanging off. He'll just keep feeling around there and he'll find the spot. There it is. Now we can pull the whole thing out. This is still going to have water in it, and there's your Bison deep well cylinder.